Hello, everybody. My name is Daisy Chino, and my travel log is on El Pueblo de Los Angeles. I wanted to start with why I chose this place. So, I grew up coming here at least once a month until I was 13. I never understood why my parents loved coming here. So, I decided to come back after so many years because I wanted to experience this location with my own family. I didn't want to choose just any other day. I wanted to come during like the day of the Virgin Mary, which is December 12th, 2022. I actually went yesterday. The day of the Virgin Mary is when they celebrate her for being, it's like her birthday, you could say. And then I, when I was there, I actually got to experience like how rich it was in culture, in religion, in urban living, and definitely in diversity. In my next slide, I will be talking about the pueblo's history. Okay, so let me give you a little brief history lesson about El Pueblo. So it was first known as El Pueblo de la Reina de Los Angeles, sorry. It was the second civil settlement in Alta California in 1718 under the Spanish Empire. They chose this specific location because they found fertile soil and a consistent source of water, which is the Los Angeles River. They also found a large population of Indians that they hope would form the core of a vibrant Spanish colony. Um, the people that lived there in El Pueblo were known as Puebloderos. Sorry if I couldn't say that right. They were mostly Spanish, Indian, and African. The Pueblo went through three colonizations. The first to be is the Spanish era, and then Mexican era, and then the U.S. era. It was known as the agriculture center back then, and now it has changed through history, and now it's known as El Pueblo of Los Angeles, which I went to this weekend. Okay, so let me talk about the geographic location. It is in the center of Los Angeles. It's known as the birthplace of Los Angeles. It is 9.5 acres in downtown LA. It includes Olvera Street, Avila Adobe, Plaza Firehouse, Pico House, Plaza Catholic Church, which is also known as La Placita. There are many more locations, but when I was there, I chose these because these are the ones that my parents would always take me to, so I wanted to experience those. There's also like the Chinese monument, I think, Chinese building, something like that. And there's also a theater, I believe. It's right next to Chinatown, the Union Station, and it's Little Tokyo, I believe. I think that's what they call it. I'm now going to be talking about my drive to LA. I was reading upon Burgess's concentric ring model, which states that in the inner ring, there's the city, and then the second ring is a zone of transition. The third ring is the working class housing, and then the fourth is the suburbs. It just states how it goes from the suburbs to the inner city. So I live in Ontario, and I wanted to see that transition myself. As you can see, there's lots of like greenery in my area, a lot of housing. The houses are like more like they have like their front yard, their backyard, they're more separate. So I think it's more like it's between the working class housing and the suburbs. And as I went closer to LA passing the 605 to the 710, those houses, or there was like more like buildings that were closer together, I would say that would be like the working class housing. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the zone of transition would be from the 710, and then as you get closer to LA, which would be like around the Mission Road around there, if you know what I'm talking about. And then the inner city would be like once you reach El Pueblo, Union Station. If you go more in, I believe that would be the inner city, which is where all those tall buildings in LA are. I didn't get to go there because my destination was El Pueblo. But yeah, I just wanted to like touch up upon like that concentric ring model, and I agree with that. Now, when I reached El Pueblo, I was trying to look for parking. But the first thing I saw were how lots of homeless people were sleeping in the streets. They had their tents around El Pueblo. There was many homeless people walking around, and I remember when there's a street in between La Placita and new buildings. Those new buildings that you see there, I don't know, there's a picture there. They're blue. They look nice, you know, aesthetic. Lately, lots of contractors have been trying to do that aesthetic look, like the book says. But that building was not there years ago. It was an empty it was abandoned buildings where homeless people used to stay. I remember seeing them all the time over there. And I guess now that they've built these buildings, they don't want no homeless people sleeping on that side. So now all of them are sleeping like right next to La Placita, by Olvera Street, even in the center of El Pueblo. This is known as gentrification, where like they destroy these old buildings and try to make new buildings to make it look better or for people to live there. And I just found that really sad. Like they're just kicking these homeless people more and more away. Like where are they gonna stay? Like, what if they do the same to El Pueblo, or El Pueblo doesn't want them there anymore? Like, what's gonna happen to these people? I don't know. It's just something I really want to touch upon because I'm really passionate about that. Like, yeah. Okay. So the first thing I saw when I got there was these red arches that really attracted me. I thought they were so beautiful. But then past that was this brick wall. It was part of the Berlin Wall, and it was a message that was directed to President Trump while he was trying to like build that wall and all that, because he didn't want people from Mexico in the United States because they were like quote unquote criminals and rapists and all that. And that just reminded me of that time when President Trump was the president. He didn't understand why people were migrating there and why were they immigrating here illegally. He didn't understand the push factors that they were going against. Then here in the little picture, it's like a little, I don't know what kind of animal is that, but in it is lots of notes to like immigrants and people that migrated that need the help, like where they could find this help. And I thought of that as so thoughtful. Sorry for all the noise in the back. I'm doing this with my baby. Yeah, that was so thoughtful. Like they were trying to help like the refugees, and I really like that section because my parents are migrated here too. And it's great that there's people out there that are thinking about migrants and immigrants, and they're becoming understanding of all these push and pull factors, these cultural push and pull factors that migrants are experiencing. Olvera Street is a market town where craft goods are exchanged. Olvera Street is really important to El Pueblo because it brings in lots of clients, therefore lots of income, therefore keep the Pueblo could stay up. While I was walking there, I realized it was rich in culture through the architecture. Many of the buildings are still old and have like that brick foundation to it. There's lots of merchandise that was rich in Latin culture, many religious artifacts, bags that were handcrafted, shoes that were handcrafted, and many beautiful and colorful clothing. There's lots of people there. Most of the items I realized when I was looking around were imported from Mexico. They could have been imported by travel through train because the Union Station is right next to it. They could have been imported through the ships, or some people actually even told me that they themselves went to Mexico, to Tijuana, and brought their own merchandise. Another thing is that in the main entrance there's a cross. This demonstrates how religion played a big role overall throughout the whole pueblo of Los Angeles back in the 1700s. You can actually see the date right there in the center of the cross. While I was there, I found it really fun and entertaining, and it was an amazing experience. I usually don't go to places like this, but I actually bought some fun things that my kids love, like maracas and some clothing that my kids could use, and a bag. There were many restaurants to eat at, but I just didn't want to take pictures. It was mostly Mexican cuisine. I didn't want to take pictures because there's people eating, and I don't know, I felt awkward about taking pictures. So yeah, there was lots of different foods, and then many items were imprinted with a religious symbol or entity. This brings back to how important religion is, not only in the 1700s but like overall in this place. Catholicism was demonstrated throughout the whole pueblo. So Villa Adobe is one of the oldest houses in Los Angeles. It's located inside Olvera Street. It was built in 1818 by Francisco Avila. So Spanish influences on the landscape are perhaps most profound in California. Folk houses in the American Southwest were mostly constructed of adobe, which is mud brick. Here is the house. This is how it looks in the front of Olvera Street, the big picture. Most of the things were, what's it called? Okay, so this is Avila Adobe. It is located inside Olvera Street. This is how it looks in the front, the big picture. It was built in 1818 by Francisco Avila. So during this time, the Spanish influenced most of the landscape in California. Folk houses in the American Southwest are mostly constructed of adobe, which is mud brick. This is one of the oldest houses in LA. Here, the guitar. This is actually a guitar that was used back then. The book that you see right there on that desk was actually Francisco Avila's book. I believe they said that he kept records of like his workers and who he paid. Most of the items that you see here were like repurposed or were replaced by something else because not a lot of things survived. I mean, this is a really old house. While I was walking there, I got a sense of like culture, you could say, through the architecture, through the things that they had. What I found most interesting was how the book there is, you could barely even see the words. They try to preserve it as much as they could, but I believe like as time goes, things get messed up. I really like how they had those pots and pans on that photo on the bottom right. I know my mom has some of those, so I got to like understand where things come from, you could say. There is a lot more to this, but I can only fit as much pictures as I could. And that's it for this slide. Culture and religion was seen throughout the whole pueblo. Religion, I mostly saw it in La Placita. There was lots of sacred agriculture, especially like the main church. However, the main entity that was being celebrated that day was the Virgen de Guadalupe. There is a less formal sacred site that is a painting drawn in the back of the placita, and many people were leaving her flowers and candles because they were thanking her for all the good things that she has done for them. I myself took her a candle. She's just really important to the Catholic religion. There's also many people selling like sculptures, bracelets, anything with her picture on it. And there's a lot of people also selling flowers, so people could buy them and give it to her as a thank you. I really enjoyed this part. I even went to the church to get my daughter her blessing for her birthday. After that, culture could be seen throughout, like I said earlier, the Overo Street, through the merchandise, through the architecture, also through one of the dances that they were having in the center of the pueblo. There's an Aztec dance happening in thanks to the Virgen de Guadalupe. I really love these dances. Like I could watch them all day if I could. They were using drums and maracas on their legs to make the music, and you could tell it was more like a folk dance as like an ancient dance. They had certain steps, certain moves. There was a guy, I don't know if you could see him, dressed in red. It's like if he was like the main dancer or like the chief. I really enjoyed this dance. They also included what's it called, like fog and smoke as a thank you, and I just really loved this whole experience and how rich it was in culture and religion. So in summary, as I was visiting El Pueblo de Los Angeles, I kept in mind the cultural geography. This could be seen through the architecture like Avila adobe. It could also be seen in other structures like Pico House, the church, and also you can see it in the people, in the merchandise, and the dances and the music culture was so rich in this place. I also kept in mind the urban geography, especially when I was traveling from Ontario to LA, and how concentric the concentric ring model, how it goes from the working class housing to the inner city. I also kept in mind how the Pueblo started next to a water source that is the LA River. I also kept in mind the population and migration geography through the message to migrants from citizens of Berlin by using the Berlin Wall, and how that sculpture helped give migrants and immigrants information on how to get help and resources. And finally, I kept in mind the religious geography because throughout the whole Pueblo de Los Angeles, you could see how religion is a big aspect of it. Not just for the people, but for the whole place. You could see it through the merchandise, throughout the whole Pueblo, like the cross in front of Olvera Street, the center of El Pueblo, where they had the Aztec dances for the Virgin Virgin de Guadalupe. How in the center they had the sculptures on how Jesus was born. They had their own Catholic church, La Placita, and how they make religious events huge, like the appearance of the Virgen de Guadalupe. Overall, I really loved coming here, and I hope I influenced you guys to one day come here and experience it yourself. Okay, thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope I influenced you to visit this place at least once in your life. The next page would just be my citations. Thank you once again.